Hello and welcome to We Women Want. This is our weekly show where we address issues related to women. We celebrate the winners, we find support for those who need it. We also look at various facets of being a woman. As you know, we're trying to write the gender balance, but writing the gender balance basically means equality. I don't think any woman is asking for more or less, but the main point over here to look at is equality. So there are laws that are coming in which are trying to give women equal rights, but in our, where the instinct is to give a woman equal rights, are lawmakers making a mistake and tilting the balance to the other side? Are we equipping women with such laws that can be open to misuse, that put the men on the back foot? Because at the end of the day, the idea is not to take revenge, not to, to right a certain historical wrongs by, making another wrong. We are taking a look at some of those laws today, especially today I'm going to be focusing on section 69 of the IPC, or the Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita as it is called now. The section 69 of the IPC says that whoever by deceitful means or by making promises to marry a woman without any intention of fulfilling the same and has sexual intercourse with her shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to up to 10 years and also shall be liable to a fine. Is this law open to misuse? Are women misusing it? Where does it put the men versus women, the gender equation? Joining me on the show today is Alka Shidhar. She is the founder and managing partner at the Law Offices of India. And Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj. She is a journalist, filmmaker and an equal rights activist, and someone who actually brought this to my notice. Alka, have you been through this section 69 of the Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita, and what do you make of it?
I think prima facie, when I read it, I think it gets directly hit by Article 14 of the Constitution, because what it says is that a man who makes a false promise to a woman by being deceitful or making a false promise of giving her employment or promotion is liable for a jail term of 10 years or fine. Now, under the same section, now it can't be said that it's only a man who can make a false promise to a woman and a woman cannot make a false promise to a man. So I think on the face of it, it's, we are just trying to overcompensate. I think we're just trying to make a woman more equal. And like I said, you can't make anybody more equal or less equal. You are equal or you're not equal. And if we women say that we are equal, we get governed by Article 14, then we should also be ready to bear the consequences and be treated as an equal. I think here they're just overcompensating for it. And also going further on, how do you know? See, there's a difference between a false promise and a breach of a promise to marry. Now, how does the court know what was inside that man's head? When he started off, he could be very genuinely from his heart. He must be wanting to marry the woman. But maybe due to unforeseeable circumstances, or his parents did agree, or whatever, or he just thought they were both not compatible. He says that he's want to marry, but then she then has a right to sue him, which I think is inherently flawed. I think this provision is inherently flawed, and it definitely needs a revisit and a review.
Okay, so Deepika, you've been working a lot, and you're an equal rights activist. But in reality, there are a lot of men who are coming to you with laws that are tilted in the favor of women. And so can you tell us a bit about, especially this law, how is it working on ground?
Priya, I would like to share with both of you cases which I think has the potential of shocking anyone's conscience. Right now, we are saying any woman can drag a man to the jail if he promises her marriage and then doesn't end up marrying her. Now, for one instance, we could understand that there may be a woman who may have been, trapped in love and false promises and all of that, and a guy would have had sex with her and then did not marry her eventually, and she feels really cheated and all of that. But I am doing cases right now, Priya, where there are women who have filed, before this law comes, this section was basically covered under section 375. If not covered, that's how it was being used, where the woman would say that he raped me on false promise of marriage. I'm doing cases where one woman has filed rape on false promise of marriage case against not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, 7 to 8 men in toto. And I have database of around 25 to 30 cases, me alone, just my research, right? I don't know how many such cases are happening across India. So For me, 69 BNS gives a lethal weapon in the hand of any woman who is scorned in love to basically tell the man that if you do not marry me, or if not even marriage, if you do not say what I ask you to, then I'm going to get you behind bars. And this is the statement that has been used exactly by these women that I'm talking about who have filed such cases on multiple men. And the biggest, Priya, the biggest scare that I have in these cases, out of the experience of the cases that I have done, is it would not even be necessary for a man to have had a sexual intercourse with a woman. She can just go and say that that is what happened. Who will prove? Let's suppose my relationship starts today. For 2 months, my relationship goes ahead. And then the woman starts forcing me to get into a committed relationship and get married to me. But I am not sure of giving a commitment. So I tell her, I'm not going to get married to you. I'm not ready for it right now. She will go and file this case and say 2 months pehle hamara hua tha. How will he prove ki nahi hua tha? So you are basically subjecting an entire population or male population that if they get into an affair and if the man doesn't commit, then the woman has an option to get you behind bars. And the moment she files an FIR, punishment is up till 10 years. It's going to be a non-bailable, cognizable offense. The man would be immediately put behind bars. Had they even done something as simple as reduce the punishment to less than 7 years, Arnesh Kumar judgment have probably taken care of an immediate arrest. But no, right now you will be put behind bars. You spend, I don't know how many months or years behind bars before you come out. And then to prove your innocence, another few years. And then even if you're innocent, your life is gone. For what?
But having said that, you do have a point, and like we have been discussing about it now, this would basically could lead to what happened to 498A. The intention was right, but the results were disastrous.
What is 498A for our viewers?
That is for cruelty to women, etc., of IPC. So basically, what the Supreme Court also said that 498A was filed by a wife against not only the husband, the in-laws, etc., and it got misused to such an extent that the Supreme Court actually said it's a draconian provision of law and it's been misused. So even when it comes to women who are actually suffering for it, the entire effect of it gets diluted. So the women don't do a great disservice to us women by misusing it, and it gets spread. And when actually a genuine woman wants to come forward with a genuine case, we'll say, no, it's 498, it must be, she must have filed it out of whatever, revenge, etc. So we have to be very careful about how these provisions of law are dealt with. And yes, the intention of the legislature is good, but I think especially when it comes to Section 69, I think it's too ambiguous, and I think it's too tilted towards, the gender equality is not there, and therefore it will get misused.
One thing that Alka just shared, which just occurred to me, and this is not an apprehension, this is what I'm already seeing. There are about 4 to 5 cases that are right now where I'm trying to guide people and help people, where entire family has been roped into this whole rape on false promise of marriage thing, Alka. I'm doing about 3 cases right now where even the father had to take bail, even the mother had to take bail, because the woman wrote in her FIR that the entire family promised to marry me.
Entire family?
Yes,
but how can
as in
be?
Entire family assured me that they're going to get their son married to me.
Okay.
But since the marriage did not happen, so the guy is accused of 376 and the family is accused of 120B. That they in all...
Conspiracy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. And the worst part of these cases that I'm talking about, in one case, the guy is 14 years younger to the woman. She's 34 and he's only 19. And another case, the guy is 22 and the woman is a woman who is married and has 2 kids.
We've had many cases like this, even in the Supreme Court, after 5 years of long relationship, they go and they file false promise. He didn't fulfill his... And he actually is brought to the books.
Yes.
After 5 long years.
Yes.
On the face of it, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
If you're in a relationship for 5 years, and there was a high court, I think it's Madhya Pradesh, who basically said, like, for a prudent woman to know whether he's going to marry or not, they should have enough confidence to be able to realize whether that guy is going to marry me or not. You don't go after 5 years and then file a rape case and a false charge.
Priya, the whole
So,
thing is, see, when you're bringing a law that impacts the entire society, you need to have a thorough consultation process.
Exactly.
The judgment that Alka shared about, it is one of the several judgments where high courts expressed their worry, anguish and concern over the cases coming under rape and false promise of marriage, because these are consensual relationships that have lasted for years and years, and then you're turning around and saying that it was rape. Just when the courts had the latest judgment that came, I think in November, was Orissa High Court, which said that this whole provision really needs to be looked into because it is not making any sense. But now they have brought it into a law. I don't know who was consulted. I don't know what was the discretion. I don't know what was
have
the
you heard?
consultation. Nothing in public domain, at least.
Also, is your concern, is the law too draconian, or is the fact that it is non-bailable? If it was bailable, would you be okay with it? Or is it that is gender specific? If the same law applied gave men the same rights, would you be okay with it?
I would be much more better. I would be much more okay with it because, I mean, it also says that a woman is incapable of, I mean, for example, in my firm, I give employment to men, I give promotions to men, so why can't I be making false promises? I mean, leaving aside the sexual part of it, I mean, it basically puts women on a much lower pedestal. They're incapable of taking decisions. They're incapable of giving employment. And it's only a man, I mean, he's automatically put onto a superior level. Only a man can give promotion to a woman. Only a man can give employment. I mean, excuse
so
me,
very-
the women to do that.
And it is infantilizing women to say that a woman doesn't have her mind. You're treating adult women less, inferior to even a child who knows what is right and what is wrong for him or her. You're saying that any man can say that I'll give you a job and you will go and have sex with him. And it is, all of this is fine. Matlab, you can go and have sex with a man if he says he will give you a job. You can go and have sex with a man if he says he will give you promotion. And all of these transactions are absolutely being legitimized by this law. But only if the job doesn't happen, it becomes a crime of 10 years. Only if the promotion doesn't happen, it becomes a crime for 10 years. I mean, it's bizarre. Nowhere in the world we have provisions like this. And if you think that, you got somebody, you won somebody's trust, and then you exploited them sexually, because I think that's the thinking which is behind this. Okay, there are laws that deal with this. There are laws existing, whether that's criminal breach of trust. You can file for civil damages. In fact, what is going to eventually happen, I, from my experience, know that these cases are going to be settled either by giving money, which happens in a lot of these cases today, or where the man would unwillingly say that, okay, I'm getting married to you under force or under pressure of not being implicated in this case. So eventually, you're not really curbing any crime, you're not really addressing any crime, but you're bringing these human relationships into the ambit of criminal law, where eventually it gets settled.
So, are we heading to a position where men would now be wanting laws to be on the same equal footing as women?
I think what they have to do, I think they seriously need to revisit these provisions and they have to make it gender equal. Otherwise, patently on the face of it, I think they are inherently flawed and they need to change that. But even otherwise, if a woman, for example, even if a guy genuinely starts with a genuine promise of wanting to marry her, but maybe, certain things happen, circumstances, and they both find out, or he finds out that they are not compatible, why should he be punished for not wanting to marry her? And the premise is just having a sexual relation. If a woman could think about having a sexual relationship, she acted upon it, then why should, it was consensual. It's not that it's amounting to rape.
Yeah.
So if she's also in it with the man, then why should only the man be punished for it? Correct. It's not right and it's just not fair.
In fact, it's not just that Alka is making a point about it. I go back to a case where I would not take the first name, but this case is from UP. The guy's name, in fact, I'll take the name because he told his story pretty much to the media. His name is Gurvinder Singh. He was in relationship with a woman for about 15 years. They met while preparing for UPSC, and this man actually paid for each and everything of this woman. Then she became a tehsildar and dumped him. And then when he protested that how can you just dump me like this without telling me what really went wrong, she filed a rape case on him. And he was behind bars for 1.5 to close to 2 years. And then this man got out and fought back and he got a case registered against her. So these relationships that happen, that go on for so, and there's another email that I got today where this guy is telling me that his brother is under depression because there's a woman who was in relationship with him for 6 months. She has taken close to 20 to 25 lakhs from him on the pretext of that we are going to get married and we are partners and everything, and now she has dumped him and gone. So this guy is not just able to deal with it. So if the intent of the lawmakers was to punish people who are making promises and not agreeing, then it should have been neutral. Then
Absolutely.
then it is very wrong. I mean, like Alka said, it strikes Article 14. Then you are basically judging the emotions of people, human reactions on the basis of gender, which I think is not right.
And which all is, I mean, this is very difficult to judge a person's frame of mind when he made that promise, because none of the judges were there, none of the lawyers were there, nobody was there. It's not a written contract.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a written contract. So how do you judge
Yes.
it? And the circumstances are also so personal that it becomes very, very difficult for the judiciary to find out if that guy made a promise which he intended at that time to keep or not.
Correct.
And that is why when these false cases are filed, I think it's incumbent on the judiciary and all of us to make sure that the women who file these false cases, I think exemplary cause and some kind of reprimands have to be put in place. Otherwise, they get scot-free. I mean, we know of so many cases where women have filed so many false cases and they just walk scot-free without anything, without any reprimand of any kind. Here, I think we are overcompensating the women, and which is not right, because I think it's the men and the women both have to feel secure and both have to know that the judiciary is going to be fair to both the genders, just not the woman.
Very good points made over here. I'm going to take a quick break and come back and put to you the counter argument, but after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. We are today discussing Section 69 of BNS and, is it tilted unfairly in favor of women? We are trying to right a historical wrong, but, are we overcompensating? The men are now going to be crying for equality, which is a very interesting point. But Alka, a lot of people say that, the counter argument really is that, there is a historical wrong, a whole baggage of historical wrong that has to be righted. So, thodi der if men are suffering, why not?
No, that may not be the right
answer.
That may not be the right answer. Because what is happening now is we are losing faith in the judiciary.
That's a good point.
Right? And also, I mean, there's so many things that are happening and people see, the public at large knows what's happening. And if one gender is being overcompensated, I mean, here, and again I say it, I mean, we women want to be equal and and I'm a staunch feminist. I mean, I don't say we have to be equal. I say we are equal. We just need to educate the people about it. They need to know that we are equal. But then if you are equal, then the laws also have to be based on equality, and they have to be based on the provisions of the Constitution to be able to defend all sections of the society, just not women.
Priya, I too understand where we all come from when we are asking for equality of women, when we are telling that, there's a lot of excuse that is given that, okay, thode time aadmi suffer kar lenge to kya ho gaya. In fact, it is just not stated casually, but it was stated by the Women and Child Development Minister Renuka Chaudhary when Domestic Violence Act was passed, when Mr. Karan Thapar was interviewing her about the loopholes in the law, and she said, it's okay if men suffer. And she was laughing about it. But no, when the man who is suffering is your son, is your brother, is your loved one, then I don't think you'll be okay to say
Laughing
that, okay,
about
if he is on the verge of suicide, that it's okay, women have suffered for such a long time. Then you will see it as wrong because it is wrong. And to say that all of these cases do not make an impact, larger impact in the society, can we just look around on what is happening in countries where the laws have been extremely skewed and biased? There are men who are saying, okay, we will not get into relationships, we will not marry. The number of, the marriage rates have gone down, and there's a lot of reason behind it. That
We are
people,
living in the age of Bumble and
the
Tinder
men are
and-
now thinking that there is nothing for them to be in a relationship because they can be sued, their money can be taken away, their house can be taken away. So these are the larger repercussions on the society. And like I was sharing with you earlier, there's a very beautiful judgment by the Punjab and Haryana High Court on cases where a lot of honey traps and these false rape cases are being filed, and the judge said that these cases where the women are misusing the laws and they are really enacting as devilish women, all of these honey trap cases, etc., are losing the basic trust that the society, that people have in each other in the society. So first, women have been afraid of men because there are so many men who have been criminals. Now are we telling that women need to go completely bonkers and so that men can be afraid? No, that's not how a healthy society works.
Should be working.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But we've had the anti-dowry laws also, which are but they're also making headlines for the wrong reasons. So, do these laws really help? Is it in the implementation? Are they open to misuse? What do we do? And we can't not have these laws also. On the other hand,
That's true. The intent of the legislature is right. I mean, the heart is in the right place. But I think if a law is ambiguous, if it's not
that's
properly
right.
drafted, the best law is which is crystal clear, precise, and concise. If a layman can understand what the law is, that's the best law. If it's subject to so many interpretations, like the section 69 is, so many interpretations, deceitful shall include this, but it can be, and especially when it comes to personal laws, like how do you make out the difference between promise to marry and making a false promise? I mean, how do you know? You have to get inside the head of the man to be able to do that. How do we do that? And secondly, just basing the entire thing on a sexual relationship. I mean, a false marriage, but without the sexual relationship is just fine. But if a woman was willing to engage in that relationship, then why should the man be penalized for it? I mean, we have to move in with the times. I mean, we have to remember that this Section 69 is coming into effect now. I mean, the date they'll tell us, but it's going to be enforced soon. I mean, so you have to move in with the times. I do realize there's a vulnerable section. Women are, yes, in India especially, more vulnerable than men. And that is why we have these laws. And yes, it is very good. But it's the implementation also and the judiciary. And I mean, we can't just put everything on the judiciary. We can't expect, I mean, the legislature also has to do its work. I mean, you just can't make an ambiguous work and then expect the judiciary to, come flying out and to be able to interpret, get inside the head of the man to know whether he made a false promise or whether it was merely a breach of a promise to marry. So it's difficult. The point is that the laws also need to be tweaked, and especially, I think, 69 definitely. And also the implementation is important.
See, I'll tell you, Priya, there is, at least I, as somebody who's fighting for equal rights, I who fights for men, I'm not representing the entire community here, but I can very strongly say that most people that I've worked with, nobody wants to take the rights away from women, but all that we are asking for is, if the woman is found guilty of committing a false case or some sort of crime, then you need to have equal punishment. There was a case by the Madhya Pradesh High Court just last month where the High Court quashed a case of a rape case filed by a woman, saying the man she had accused of rape had raped her on false promise of marriage. Again, this section 69 kind of backdrop. The court observed that this woman has filed similar case in Delhi, then Bhopal, then this case was in Jabalpur, and the court basically quashed the case, and they said this is modus operandi of this woman to keep on filing cases like these, put her name in the interoperable criminal justice system so that other police stations now stop taking her FIR. But the judge did not give even a smallest fine as a punishment to the woman. And that's where we are lacking. That's where what you were saying, that we need to have these laws for women. We definitely need to have these laws for women. But when it is found that she has lied and she has misused the law. I mean, I wanted to ask you, Alka, can you think of just 10 judgments under 498A? The law has been there for 40 years now. Can you think of 10 judgments where the woman was punished for filing a false 498A?
No, not to my mind. No. And that is wrong.
Yeah.
Be it a woman or a man, whoever has misused the due process of law needs to be punished.
So deterrence would be a good check and balance.
Exactly, exactly. And that is why you said this will act as a deterrent also to people filing false cases. Over here, a woman would know that even if she's filed cases which are not maintainable, I mean, at the most, what's going to happen? It's going to get dismissed. But that is not right. It sends a wrong message to the society.
See, the 498A has, in common knowledge, reduced itself to a law for negotiating alimony or maintenance and things like that, or basically implicate the entire husband's family and then try to get into a negotiation. I'm not really aware. The conviction rate of 498A is bare minimum. So basically the law hasn't really worked for the purpose it was brought for.
Exactly.
Now I think 69 is going to go in exactly the same way.
Direction.
I am not sure if it's going to really give justice to any woman who has been exploited, but it's going to be left, right and center going to be misused to settle scores in failed relationships.
At least one thing we've done or tried to do in this show is to raise awareness, and because this is something that very few people know about. I didn't know about until we spoke about it. And there are some laws that are being sneaked in through the back door, some laws that need talking about. And as we said earlier, as you put it so nicely, that we want equality, but we don't want overcompensation. We don't want the balance to be like this and not like this on either side. At the end of the day,
I mean, I think we got to think like parents. I mean, if you're a father or a mother of a son and a daughter, you want this world to be beautiful for your daughter as well and for your son as well, right?
And fair
and just and equal, both of them,
irrespective of the genders.
Exactly. So I think our lawmakers have that responsibility. They are the parents of every citizen of this country and they're responsible for the well-being of everyone.
Absolutely.
How can they be so biased to one gender and be so much favorable to the other gender? It's unfair.
Yeah, so that is exactly what we women want. We want a fair world for everybody. We don't want an unfair world. We just want equality and fairness.
Yeah.
I think that's what our lawmakers really need to get. But thank you both for this conversation and for bringing to light such a sensitive
Our
topic.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.